Hello, Facebook. Hello, LinkedIn. Hello, Twitter. Hello, YouTube. Hi, everyone. I am Shaun Glaze. I use they, them pronouns, and I am the Chief Consulting Officer for Inclusive Data. And if you know me, you may know me either as one of the research co-leads for the world's largest Black community-led research project, also known as the Black Brilliance Research Project, where we hired over 100 community members to explore what creates true community safety, what creates true community health, and what do we need to thrive. So, if that's how you know me, hello. Yes, that is me. Really exciting because we did create a new form of governance, which is called participatory budgeting. We didn't invent participatory budgeting, but we created a new form of it that is equity focused, that is focused on Black leadership, and that's focused on Black priorities. And so, if you know me for that, hello again. And then you may also know me as someone who's very skilled at getting people grants. And so at this point, we are at over $7.5 million in grants for Black small businesses, Black nonprofits. We really do focus on making sure our communities are resourced to do the work that they need to do. So today, I'm talking about something called collaboration. And so collaboration is essential. One of the things that I know to be true is that for a long time communities have been coerced into competition, and it has been such a struggle to get resources when we are pitted against each other. So one thing that I think is really important is to know is that we don't have to compete anymore. There's nothing magic about having to fight each other for scraps. We could instead come together and create new plans, new designs for how we'll work together that are based on the idea that we're stronger together and that we can all eat. So, today I'm going to be talking about collaboration. If you're in my class, Grant Slayer Academy, you'll recognize this little worksheet here, which goes over some ideas of how to think about collaboration in a grant context. So, first things first, if you have any questions, I will be monitoring the chat. I am live on Facebook on my phone, and I'm also live, thank you, StreamYard, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So, I'll be checking both places. If it looks like I'm not quite looking at you, it'll be because I'm looking at the other place. So, hello again. And let's get started. So, collaboration. We know that a lot of times tiny, small nonprofits are doing this work where you have your staff is all volunteers. You may have an executive director that is essentially doing a lot of public facing work. They're also raising funds, paying out of pocket to make the ends meet. And also, when they don't meet, to try to find some kind of way to keep the mission alive. We also know that a lot of times small nonprofits have boards that are really learning for the first time how to serve on a board. And that presents unique challenges that some of the more established organizations or more resourced organizations don't typically have to face. And so the first thing I'll say is that when we think about collaboration, we can start small. We can start with the relationships we already hold. We can start with the board that is already there. We can start with the people who are already volunteering. The people who are immediately around, the folks who are getting the work done, we can start there. So, collaboration there, what does that look like? Well, from a grant perspective, a lot of people, when they think grants, they think I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write a grant proposal, and that's going to be how I approach grants. And yes, you could do that, but think about what it would look like if you could also put your board to work. If your board's newly established, they may not know that there's several things they can do to bring in funds. They may not know how to network with donors. They might not know how to network with funders. They may not know how to create a social media presence that's going to be really attractive to funders or use hashtag strategy. Like, there's a lot of things that they may not be aware of. And if they just had a little support to get there, they'd be able to do. And that's why for our class, Grant Slayer Academy, we include all of those tips as part of the class so that you have that in house. Having in house support is crucial to being able to not burn out when things get hard. So, really want to make sure that y'all understand that really starting with this idea of like, okay, for the people who are already involved, what does that look like? Um, I give you a couple concrete examples. And so I was working with a board before, and one of them was an artist. And they're like, listen, I want to help. I'm an artist, how can I fundraise? One idea they had was to have an event and have that board member be one of the featured performers alongside some of the other performers to bring people in. And what's great is that board member could then say, just so you know, I'm part of this great nonprofit here, right? So that's a great way to bring in money, especially if it's an event that is donation based so that people can contribute. It's also a great way to build relationships. And so when you're going to have that event, who are you adding to your invite list? And so if you follow us along, and if you're in Blacks and Nonprofits, you've seen us talk about this before, you can find out who the funders are for your particular area. And then you can start to think about creating a really targeted invitation list to that event. So in that instance, you have an example of how a board member who doesn't necessarily think about grants or a grant strategy, they're able to start to develop relationships that are going to bring them in contact with that funder. So being really strategic. Let's see, just reading the comments. The Academy is fire. Oh, thank you. So super excited about what we get in the Academy. Thank you. I really appreciate you putting that out there. It is so fun to be able to meet with people as part of the class and talk to y'all. The class itself is pre-recorded, right? So like you don't have to be present, at a particular time to attend. You can just show up to office hours on Fridays and say, hey, I didn't watch any of the videos this week, but I really need help finding a grant. And then we'll just spend time finding you grants and talking about which ones are the best fit. So I really appreciate you giving me that shout out. That is so lovely. I spent months making this class because once I realized that, community doesn't have this knowledge. We have a repeatable process where it's like we have a really high win rate. We are able to get there because we know, like, you do this, then you do that, and you do this. We know that recipe. And so let's just share this recipe with community. So that's what Grant Slayer is about. So we gave this example about this board member, but what else could that same board member do? Well, one thing that I really want to make sure that y'all know is that some of our funders are moving away from just a paper-based strategy, and they're using other ways to be able to find out, who might be good to fund. And art is often one of those components. So depending on what kind of art that board member does, they may find that the type of art that they do is what funders are now looking at in order to decide who to fund. And I talk about that in the class as well. Okay, great. It's really packed with knowledge. Yes, that's what I want to hear. I really did take the time to make sure there's no fluff. Y'all, I can't with fluff. When you are watching someone go live on social media, or you're in a class, online class, and they spend like 2 weeks just telling you their backstory, and you're like, wow, that's interesting, but how is that going to help me get grant money? So for me, it's like, part of what I like to tell people is once you figure out what works, you stick with that, and then you can do some innovation on top of that, once you kind of get your foundation down. So thank you so much for that shout out. So the second thing a board member can do. So say you have board members, and we've already talked about your artistic person and how they can help bring in funding for your nonprofit. And again, I cover this in the class as well with concrete templates and tools and like guides. There's a whole wealth of information there for you. But let's say you have someone, they're like, I'm a people person. I'm not an artist. I love talking to people. I love learning what they're passionate about. I love connecting the dots. And so how do I do that? Well, guess what, people, you too can help get grants for your organization. And so if you're part of a nonprofit, for example, and you are interested in developing relationships with funders, well, first thing you might think of is, okay, I need to find out who's the funder in my area. A great thing that people will usually say is, get to know your local community. Who are the other nonprofits there, and who's funding them? And, talk to them and develop relationships that way. And I think that's a good idea. I think that's really helpful. I also know that those of us who are in the grant world, we use specialized databases to see who the foundations are, who they're funding, how much. My favorite one that I love is called Foundation Directory Online. If you are a Black nonprofit, your nonprofit is Black led, definitely I highly encourage you to join Blacks in Nonprofits. And for those of you who are in Blacks in Nonprofits, isn't that group awesome? Y'all, people are here supporting each other, giving each other resources, giving each other advice. Like it's a really cool group of over 22,000 people in it. So I just want to shout out to that community. It's near and dear to my heart. And for those of you who aren't, if you're a Black person, get in there. If you're not a Black person, please support that group. It is really hard for Black people to find community amongst ourselves. And when we do, we have to create it. And often it is not supported. Like there's such a need to make sure that we are doing everything we can to support community members who are creating new features. And so shout out to Blacks and Nonprofits. The second way of collaborating, so we talked about the art thing. So if you're a people person, you need a network, right? So what I'd like to tell people is, honestly, like networking, people think of it as a very transactional thing where you go in, you're like trying to get something out of someone. What I like to do is really think about meeting people as a way to be really curious about their story and to learn how their story and your story might fit together. I definitely don't want anyone leading any conversations with potential funders about money off the bat. I think that is usually something that can feel really, like, I don't know, aggressive, but also people like to be courted, like people like to have a little bit of that dance where they're getting to know each other and kind of feel each other out. And funders are no different. At the end of the day, funders are people too. They have hopes and dreams and priorities and things they're worried about and stories that make them laugh, and you really want to get to know them better. It'll definitely help make your grant work stronger, but it'll also help you understand more of how you fit into this ecosystem with them. So your person who's more of a people person, that could be their strategy. In the class, I go over how to find out where people are at. So that's important. How do you find out where funders are? We also go over how to be known by funders, which is really important as well. If you are not findable, you are not fundable. So for those of you small nonprofits out there, I see you. I know it's hard, and we give concrete tips on what you can do as you grow. So those are some great things to think about. So today, I just want to show you, just go through some of the details in here. This should look familiar. This is our workbook that we have with the class. If you get our class through Shopify, you have the ability to get this as a hard copy. That's my preference for myself because I am very much like a paper person. I love being able to kind of flip through things. It's a pretty good size workbook too, so it's not too heavy. And I like the spiral because then I can just kind of turn to the pages I want. So as we talk about collaboration, one concrete thing I want to share with you is that a lot of times once we start to figure out, what our shared vision is, how we all, are going to work together, we start to think about documents. We start to think about some kind of way of making it easy for us to remember and tell other people about the work that we do together. Part of that looks like creating letters of support, letters of collaboration. Part of it looks like creating memorandums of understanding, memorandums of agreement. All of those things we have templates for in the class, so you don't have to sort of do what a lot of people do, where they like Google it and then they find something it's like not quite what they're looking for, or you're not really sure how to change it to make it fit with what you got going on. So instead, you can use our templates, and then because in the class it comes with office hours, you can bring those templates to office hours, which are group consulting, and you can say, how does this fit to my situation? And we'll tell you. And so far, our office hours have been like really good size, like not huge. And if they get too big, we have enough people who can do breakout rooms. And so that's always a possibility. So definitely want to put that out there. Definitely make good use of the tools. Don't reinvent the wheel. Use what works and keep it pushing. That said, I'm going to look to see if we have any comments. I see, oh, hey, Rochelle. It's so good to see you. I see folks here and I see folks here. So if you have any questions about collaboration and what that looks like over competition, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll start closing us out, which will be recapping what we shared. I will start the recap process now. Great. Reset. Hi, y'all. I'm Shaun Glaze. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Chief Consulting Officer for Inclusive Data. Inclusive Data is my company. Part of how we help people is that we help them get grants. And a lot of people listen. A lot of people, when they hear about the work we do and that we've gotten over $7.5 million in less than a year in grants for other people, Black nonprofits, Black small businesses, they're like, okay, I want you to write a grant for me right now. Please let me hire you to write a grant. And what we're doing now is we're saying, you know what, we'd love to write grants for you, but you need to take this class first. Do you know why? Well, it's because we need this knowledge in community's hands. We need people to know like how to do this thing that we do. We need community members to be able to have this knowledge, share this knowledge, tap into this knowledge. And so if you take our class, you have that knowledge. You'll have the templates, you'll have the resources, you'll have the tips, you'll have the frameworks that we use, you'll have the exercises we do, you'll have all of the things that we use to get all of this money. And then you'll have us with you every step of the way for 6 weeks, helping you with your questions, looking over your proposals, helping you with your donor strategy, setting up some of your website stuff, supporting you on social media. So all of that is part of the class. And so currently the class is under $300, which is a really good deal. And that is great because it's nice and accessible for our community. And so, you know, you get all that time with us, you get our resources, you get our knowledge, etc. If you buy this class today, you will be able to get a free laser session with me. And a laser session is one-on-one time. It is 20 minutes, and it is on top of all the other stuff that you get. And you meet with me, and we're able to talk just about whatever you want. And so with me, I do specialize in grants. I also have experience in bids. I have experience with donors. I have experience in operations. And I have a lot of experience in research. And so research, data, evaluation, all that good stuff, boards, 20 minutes, ask me anything. And so you want to take advantage of that because I don't offer laser sessions very often. So if you're not in the class, definitely go ahead and make that a priority today. You can get the class by going to bit.ly/grantslayer. I am dropping that in the chat. And if you're watching this on LinkedIn or our Facebook page on YouTube, you can see the little ticker at the bottom of that information. But I'm just going to type it here. Again, that's bit.ly/grantslayer. And that is our class. And if you buy that today, then you get a free laser session with us, which is really exciting. Really looking forward to that. I'm going to pin that comment. Excellent. So I'm going to do another quick scan for comments. I see people are looking pretty good. I saw some hearts. Thank you for those. I love y'all. Like, I love our community. I love how we grow and support each other. And I really do see this as being one of those things that'll help grow capacity, especially in Black communities. Black and Brown communities don't have these kinds of skills as part of our normal operating procedures. You know, when I was growing up, I did not learn this in public school. I did not learn this in high school. I did not learn this in college. I learned these skills while apprenticing underneath a fantastic grant writer in my master's program. And I was able to really refine them throughout my master's studies, my PhD studies, and like doing, you know, being on the other side and like in real life situations, getting people grants. And I've definitely figured it out over the last year about how to make this really easy for other people to figure out too. And so please, if you are not in this class and you are a Black nonprofit, a Black small business, I need you in this class. I also need you to tell your friends and family about it because this is a playbook that is designed just for us to be able to do these things. That's pretty cool. And then lastly, if you are a youth serving organization And you want your young people to know how to get these grants, and you want your young people to know how they can use these to fund their small businesses or their favorite nonprofits or a nonprofit they want to start. Please connect with us after you buy the class. Hit me up because I have a special offer for y'all, but just for the youth serving organization. So hit me up and let's talk. That said, I'll close this out. Hi again. I am Shaun Glaze. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the founder of Inclusive Data, and I help people get grants. I'm a grant strategist, I'm a grant writer, and I am here to get this knowledge into our community's hands so that everyone can eat. So I'll see y'all later, and take good care. And I hope that you have everything you need to succeed. And if not, hit us up. All right, bye now.